This is Bjorn with Hearth and Heathendom. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about land whites, land and house whites. They go by several names. In some cultures they're called the Tomti, some they're called the Nisi, some the Huizinga, some the Tatermen, some the Catermen, the Domovoy, the Kobold, Gnomes, Brownies. But what do they all have in common? They're all pretty much the same creature, pretty much the same, have the same qualities, the same attributes. They're just spread throughout. They're just spread throughout Europe. Depending on what country you come from, you call them whatever. I think Ireland's brownies, Taterman's the German. So a little bit about them. So what is a land white? What do they do? Land whites are basically spirits connected to nature, connected to the land. Their dominion is over, well, land and house whites. Their dominions are over the hearth, the home, the garden, the farm, and all the inhabitants within. They're kind of protectors, they're kind of warders of whatever land they dwell in. They are but important to you, important to everyone to know, be aware of your land whites. They're a good source of good luck if you placate them, if you acknowledge them, or ill luck if you ignore them, if you offend them. These creatures are said to look like small humanoids, commonly depicted with beards. Most of them are male. They wear special type of hats. They have these shoes called fairy shoes, and what those hats and shoes do is to make them invisible. Also increase their speeds exponentially. What we think of about the garden gnome nowadays, when we put in the garden, that actually comes from the tradition of the land whites. What we would do is we would put statues made of clay or wood. We'd put that in a garden, or we'd put that by the hearth, and that would represent our land white, and that's what we would give offerings to. But funny enough is the garden gnomes actually pretty much look like how the land whites were described in the folklore. What other descriptions we have them? Usually small, bearded men, white beards, little pointy hats. So what's the difference between a house white and a land white? Well, a housewife white specifically deals with the house, the building you occupy. They're called the Huizinga in some, I think it's German's the Huizinga. But basically they're charging the home itself, the building which you and your kin reside. These creatures help with tasks such as little chores here and there, but its major function is to keep the frith and bring luck to you. To appease these beings, one must first know where he resides. If you have a fireplace, he makes his domicile there. If not, he finds his abodes in the cracks and crevices near your oven. So let's move on to the land whites now. Land whites, otherwise known as the Tatermen or the Catermen, these creatures are in charge of your land or yard. They like gardens. They like to ward over plant life and animals in your care. They are also a source of luck for you and your kin. A bad crop can sometimes be the work of an aggrieved land white. They make their abodes in the hollows of a tree, or under big stones, or maybe a burrow in the earth. Tatermen especially have the ability, according to some folklore, to transform into a house cat and travel in its guise. But both these whites are said to be powerful creatures. One saga tells us of a troll who came onto a man's land and threatened the owners of the land's life. The land white, being quite loyal and content with the landowner, kill the troll. He was powerful enough to kill a troll, which is said, according to lore, to be a powerful, malevolent entity or spirit. And so, yeah, that's a pretty good reason to placate these land wights, to placate your housewives. So, how do we placate them? How do we appease these creatures and tap into their source of love power? Well, just keeping up with your chores is a good first step. These creatures don't like messy areas or lazy homeowners. Another way is to acknowledge them, talk to them, compliment them. But a good surefire way to appease them is through offerings. They like sweets, beer, meat. You can do this for them on a monthly basis. Oatmeal with a knob of butter on top is the most common offering. Leave it at their domicile. You will have a happy wight. Or a common practice was to carve or make an image of this wight, like I mentioned before, and place it where said domicile would be, and make an offering to said image. The legacy of the garden. They also are fond of music, and in some cases have taught forgotten ancient tunes to their masters. So what happens when you have an aggrieved wight? Well, he's said to bring ill luck. They become mischievous, they play tricks, or cause destruction. They were commonly mistaken for poltergeists because of this. And when Europe converted and lost their old ways, Christians attempted to rid the lands of these wights, conflating them with demons. And they did this through exorcism. And their attempts were basically to kill the spirit, kill the wight, to drive it from the land, which is not a good thing to do, because they are connected to the land. They're the spirits of the land, basically. They represent the land, they represent the nature around that land. And that's another reason why Christianity is a destructive force, because it came and, Christians love to dominate nature instead of living harmoniously with nature. So that's why they felt the need to drive these creatures out. And there goes your source of luck. I mean, that's a story for another time. I will talk about luck power and how the ancient European peoples regarded it, why it's important, and what the name actually is for luck power. But it was very important to our ancestors. It was very important. It was one of the central things to our religion, was how to gain access to luck power. But as I said, that's a story, that's a video for another day.